There are a few when I was sitting in the Court of Appeal, but perhaps the one that I am still thinking about it now is the case of Indira Gandhi. Most of us would know Indira Gandhi as it relates to the principle of judicial power. But this was a case which I decided in the minority. It was an appeal from the decision of Justice Lee Swee Seng in Ipoh, if I'm not mistaken, on the recovery order and mandamus order. What happened here was Padmanabhan, the husband, and Indira Gandhi, the wife, or rather the father and the mother, were undergoing divorce, or they were divorced. Can't remember the facts correctly now. But the thing is this. Padmanabhan converted in 2009. He converted to Islam. They were Hindus and they were married under the civil law Divorce, Marriage and Divorce Act, Law Reform Marriage and Divorce Act. And when he converted to Islam, he converted the children as well. I think the youngest was about barely 1 year old, about 11 months old, the youngest. There are 2 other children, the elder ones. So what happened when he converted and converted the children as well? That was the case that came up until the federal court on the issue of conversion without the approval of both parents and so on and so forth. But in this particular instance, when Padmanabhan converted to Islam, he went to the Sharia court to obtain a custody order of the children. And this part, is really something which I cannot comprehend. How the youngest child was being snatched from the mother when she was still breastfeeding. She was 11 months old. So what happened? The father went to the Sharia court and obtained a custody order from the Sharia court. First point I would like to make is this. What was the basis for Sharia court to assume jurisdiction when the marriage was a non-Muslim marriage and the mother was not before the Sharia court? For obvious reasons. She is a non-Muslim and therefore she could not appear. The Sharia court has no jurisdiction over her. Yet, there was a custody order made by the Sharia court. Indira Gandhi, on the other hand, had a valid custody order given by the civil court. So that was a valid order because the law, the principles of law are tried. When you contracted a civil marriage, whatever issues arising out of that civil marriage would have to be sorted out in the civil court. That's clear principles. No quarrel about that. So now we have 2 so-called conflicting custody order. And when faced with these conflicting orders, I think the Indira Gandhi went to the civil court to seek for recovery order. So the mother, Indira Gandhi, went to the civil court to ask for a recovery order, and also several other proceedings were going on, contempt against the husband and so on and so forth, because the custody order which was granted by the civil court was served on the husband and he did nothing. So what happened was, finally the wife went to the civil court applied for judicial review for mandamus, asking the IGP or the police to search for the children to be given back to the mother. And that was the appeal that came up before me in the Court of Appeal, where the IGP, the High Court judge, granted the mandamus order, directing the IGP to search the children and bring them back to the mother. The IGP was not happy. There was an appeal before the Court of Appeal, and I was a lone voice there, dissenting. Because to me, there is no basis, no justification even in Islam, as I understand Islam, to deprive a child of her mother and to deprive the mother of the child. What sin has Indira Gandhi committed against any one of us such that she has to face this agony? From then, 2009, until now, I believe she still has not been the children is still don't know where. I don't think she has any news of where the children are until now. So where is the justice here? And I suspect the order of the civil court on the mandamus, on the custody order, whatever else that was issued by the civil court, were not enforced by the authorities or the powers that be because of the misconception that we need to protect Islam. So then, because this is also the question that was posed to me by one VIP, very important person, telling me that when I making some remarks to me that when I decided cases, I had not uphold the principles of Islam and not protecting Islam, and reference was made to that mandamus order that I made in the Court of Appeal. So when I ask, which principles of Islam are we talking about here that we need to uphold, I received no reply from him, no response at all. So my conclusion is that this has got nothing to do with the principles of Islam. It's just a matter of plain and simple fairness and justice, that a mother ought not to be deprived of her children and vice versa.
I think as far as principles are concerned, you clearly have a sense of direction as to how you would make a decision. I think for many of us as well, there are a couple more cases where I think your principle and your value system has pretty much been brought into the spotlight. I think we are thinking of, Iki Putra, we're thinking of Nikalin and so on. Without perhaps going into too much detail, I'm sure it must feel quite hurtful to be perhaps accused of being sort of disloyal to your faith, and also for not respecting your faith, I suppose. There's also a lot of misinformation out there, isn't it, about these cases? I mean, this is your chance to set a record, right? What would you want to say about those two cases?
Iki Putra and
Nikalin.
Yeah, also the same misconception. People were thinking, most people had this impression that these two cases involves the upholding of the principles of Islam or, the Sharia court. But it was simply a matter of demarcation of legislative power between the state and the federal. Well, it was very hurtful. When you receive calls from friends, from family members, I can take it, but I pity my husband because he was also, punching back for all this. Somebody will be telling him, what's wrong with Tengku Maimun? Why is she not upholding Islam and so on and so forth? So I think it is important, even in Islam, if you don't understand, there is this concept of tabayun, checking first before you make any remarks or observations.